Greetings, everyone, and welcome to this last session of the morning, which is actually already the midday. We're the only thing that's standing between you and your lunch, so we will be keeping to time, and we'll be keeping the presentations dynamic enough to compete with your hunger levels. The focus of this session is the role of civil society in achieving social accountability. My name is Carmen Malenais, and I have the pleasure and the privilege of being the moderator for the session that will feature Svetlana Plazvamatic, Hossam Bagat, and Amir Lashin. Before we get started, since we regrettably will have no time for questions and answers, can we at least just take 1 minute to ask all of you, among those of you who are in the room, how many of you are already currently involved in social accountability work or social accountability initiatives? Can you just raise your hand? That looks like close to a majority, at least half. How many of the people in the room are currently working with a civil society organization? Wonderful. Okay, that's a big number. And how many others are actually collaborating with civil society organizations in your work? How many of you are so jet-lagged that you can't remember who you work with or what you work on? A few of those as well. Okay, never mind, you're not alone. Given that the theme of this session is so far-reaching, we've identified 3 guiding questions. The first of these is concerning the capacity of civil society in the Arab world to promote and achieve social accountability. As we know, social accountability requires a demanding mix of political savvy, of mobilizing capacity, as well as technical know-how. And to be effective agents of social accountability, civil society organizations, as we've heard, need to be able to access information, to mobilize citizens, to make their voices heard, and to be able to negotiate a response from public authorities. In order to do so, civil society organizations must also themselves strive to be transparent, democratic, and accountable organizations. And all these attributes and skills are more typical of a mature and a well-developed civil society sector, and ideally of an enabling environment that allows access to information and guarantees basic rights and freedoms. So taking into account the current period of transition in the region, the first question is, does civil society have the capacity and the possibility to successfully promote social accountability in the region? And what priority actions are necessary to empower citizen movements and civil society organizations to become effective agents of social accountability? Secondly, the social accountability universe encompasses an extremely broad range of different types of approaches, practices, and tools. These can be applied at the local level or the national level, and they can target a wide range of different governance issues, including public information sharing, constitution building, policy making, the tracking and monitoring of budgets, of expenditures, of procurement processes. They can be based on the monitoring and evaluation of public services, or they can address broader anti-corruption and oversight roles. These practices also vary to the extent in which they are institutionalized as part of government systems or that they're undertaken independently. They can be more technical or more political. They can be more collaborative or more critical. And the choice of what specific strategies and practices we pursue depends upon a wide range of factors, including existing capacities and skills, but also political realities, the current social situation, the nature of relationships between citizens and the state, and pressing national priorities. So the second guiding question is, given the present state of political and social transition in the region, what currently, at this time, are the most important and the most strategic entry points for civil society actors that are seeking to promote social accountability? Finally, social accountability is not just about practices and tools. Fundamentally, it's about relationships. The way that we understand and define relationships between citizens and the state, and the way that we shape and we manage working relations between state and non-state actors. Traditionally, many governments have tended to view CSOs as falling into one of two camps. They're the helpful CSOs that are involved in service delivery, that are welfare-oriented and tend to be apolitical. And then there are the more troublemaking NGOs who are involved in different forms of advocacy or activism, which can sometimes be challenging and even at times confrontational. Social accountability is really about getting beyond that kind of dichotomous understanding of civil society and creating spaces between those ends of the spectrum for new forms of balanced, evidence-based, and critically collaborative relationships to form between civil society and state actors. And these must be based on a shared understanding of each other's legitimate rights and responsibilities. So keeping in mind the diverse situation of individual countries in the region, but acknowledging that in many places relations between civil society and the state are currently marked by certain tensions, contestation, in some cases even outright confrontation, our third question is what can be done to transform current dynamics between civil society and state actors, to build mutual trust and respect, and to promote and create channels for constructive engagement and critical collaboration. Each of our presenters have been asked to take into account these guiding questions. So without further ado, let's turn to them. Each panelist will have exactly 10 minutes to speak. Svetlana Plasvamatic has served as director of the National Foundation for Civil Society Development in Croatia since 2003. Prior to this, she was a community organizer and a public servant, including a position as the head of the Government Office for Cooperation with NGOs. In her current role, she's participated in the creation of numerous national documents on civil society in Croatia, including the Law on Associations and the National Strategy for the Creation of an Enabling Environment for Civil Society Development. She's board member of the European Citizen Action Service and a member of the Croatian Government Commission on Human Rights. Svetlana.